What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the post of the Grand Prix after the Australian Grand Prix, right? Let's dive into it. What did we see in the race? It was an interesting race, let's face it. With several race restarts, right? Several red flags, some of them unnecessary, according to me, but anyway. We saw Perez with problems on Saturday, starting from the pit lane. Max Verstappen in the pole, George Russell overtaking him in the first corner, right? We see it here, and look at the gap that he opened with Max Verstappen, and Max Verstappen was kind of sold out to Lewis Hamilton, who here is right behind him. You have Alonso, you have Stroll, you have Carlos Sainz, which was really aggressive this Sunday. He got a penalty for that. For me, deserved. Many people say it's not. Anyway. He was very angry after the race. Anyway, here we have Lewis Hamilton overtaking Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen complaining that Hamilton didn't give him any space. I think somebody should show Max Verstappen videos of Abu Dhabi 2021 when after the big straight, the back straight, Max Verstappen didn't leave any space to Lewis Hamilton. Same thing. No penalty for Max Verstappen. He was complaining. How many times has Verstappen done that? I'm not defending Hamilton. But Max Verstappen complaining of not giving space to other drivers, I mean, it's ironic. We have Sainz attacking Verstappen from the outside. Before that, there is something interesting that I will analyze a little bit later. But anyway, we saw, I don't know if you can see it here, but look at this. You have Lance Stroll on the outside of Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc that was on the outside of Lance Stroll. Right, and Leclerc trying to overtake Stroll from the outside. Maybe didn't give enough space, or there was not enough space in that corner. And Leclerc was out of the race in turn 3. Many incidents in this race. Anyway, one thing I would like to talk about Carlos Sainz. First of all, his concept of himself is out of this world. First start, I see many people saying many media experts actually. I heard, and I was very surprised to hear these kind of things, saying that in the first lap usually the FIA or the stewards don't issue penalties to drivers, and it's such an obvious thing, right? Because they understand that there's a lot of adrenaline. And there's a lot of cars in a very little space. Everybody's aggressive, trying to overtake, blah, blah, blah. Right? Carlos Sainz, this race on Sunday, had several actions that for me were kind of questionable for someone who is pretending to be the world champion or someone who is pretending to be the leader of Ferrari, right? And his character, his arrogance, anyway. The first start after turn 2, right, running down to turn 3, you can see that he already is weaving in the straight, trying to be aggressive, trying to mark the territory with Alonso, for example, right? And in this action, he's already punting, touching, call it however you want, Fernando Alonso, which Alonso avoids. Very well. Like this, at this speed, could have been a big accident, and Alonso knows that very well. Because he had a crash here with, I think it was Esteban Gutierrez, right? In 2016, somewhere there. So this is first action. Being aggressive like that and punting Fernando Alonso. I mean, they are supposed to be good friends, and then Alonso was defending him with cold tires, whatever, right? And this is the other action, right? Alonso trying to go for the corner, Stroll in the middle of Leclerc and him, and Leclerc punting him. Many people I have read as well, and they are very convinced that Stroll is the one guilty in this action. And for me, if you analyze it, especially for this kind of views, you can see that Stroll didn't have anywhere to go. He was there, Leclerc came from the outside, from behind, and was trying to do the corner like everybody else. I think this is a race incident for me. I don't think it's anybody's fault. Leclerc was from the outside, Stroll didn't have any space to go. And Leclerc was out. That's what happens when you go from the outside, right? But anyway, then we have the first thing that changed the race. You have Alexander Albon spinning. Which one is it? 3, 4, 5. Turn 6 maybe? Is it? You can see it in turn 6. Putting a lot of gravel on the racetrack. And well, this was could have been a safety car, but they put a red flag to clear all this gravel on the racetrack. I understand it. This one I could agree. So there was first there was a safety car, and the FIA or the stewards decided maybe 1 minute later that it was a red flag. So who are the ones who got the worst part of it? George Russell, as you can see here, and Carlos Sainz that went to the pits, which was the smart decision had the red flag not been brought out, right? Hamilton and Verstappen were there, and the funny part is that the safety car was on track for quite a long time, so before they pull out the red flag. So it looked like it was the smart decision. You come in, you put a hard tire, you try to go to the end. Of course, when the red flag came in, the race was over for these two. Well, not over, but it was destroyed. George Russell went from P1 to P7. And Sainz, look at where he is, P11. But anyway, then there is something interesting here. They took from the pit lane the safety car to go to the grid and make another standing start, right? Kind of interesting, but anyway. And look at this. There's the train behind the safety car, and you have, I think this is Sainz, and you have the Alpha Tauri, this car trying to avoid him, this car braking, this car, which is Perez, avoiding this guy. Sargent, has to go outside, and then you have a Haas, if I'm not mistaken, Magnussen, who doesn't see this happening, and has to go to the gravel to try to avoid everything. No penalties for anybody. This Alpha Tauri should have been penalized for this action. What happened here? Where was the stewards? I mean, the stewards made mistakes this weekend, but oh my god, this was so obvious. This was a hazard. This was a risk. This Alpha Tauri could have caused a big accident. Look at the Haas on the gravel. Look at Logan Sargent. Logan Sargent should be behind here. It was embarrassing. This no penalties, no anything. Come on, embarrassing. Anyway, second race start, right? You see Hamilton on pole, Max Verstappen, you have Alonso, Stroll, and so on. Not many things happening. You can see Hamilton leading down to turn 3. Verstappen, you have Alonso was here. No, this is Russell. Alonso should be somewhere here, trying to attack Max Verstappen. You have Gasly, you have Russell, Stroll, Hülkenberg, and so on, right? Carlos Sainz trying to take back positions. You see a touch here between, if I'm not mistaken, De Vries, perhaps, and I don't know if it's Ocon or who is this guy, Magnussen? I'm not sure who it was, to be honest. But anyway, there was a punt here as well. Race incident, I kind of agree. And then you have the race-winning overtake. Max Verstappen overtaking Lewis Hamilton thanks to a DRS. 4 DRS zones. For me, it's too much. You are altering the competition. But this is what the FIA thinks is good, right? You're not giving chances to the fastest cars being the fastest. I mean, you could see later on the race Pierre Gasly staying with Carlos Sainz with a very inferior Alpine to the Ferrari, right? He was there in DRS zone, so all the laps he was behind Carlos Sainz, not pulling away. Anyway, George Russell overtaking Pierre Gasly, going for P4, and right after that, as you can see, his engine said enough. Engine, power unit, however you want to call it, he was on fire, and Russell's race was over right there. You see Sergio Perez overtaking and recovering positions with a really superior Red Bull, but again, with DRS zones and everything. No, seriously, and Perez was on hard tires since the very beginning, so this is another thing. Carlos Sainz overtaking Pierre Gasly, same like Max Verstappen. and Lewis Hamilton in lap 1, right? Didn't give any space. Look at where Carlos Sainz is going. If Pierre Gasly doesn't lift, Pierre Gasly would be here, out of the track. I remember at the beginning of the season, and last year as well, the FIA saying you need to give space to the car to give the corner, or you should give out the position. Look at where Carlos Sainz is. Like this is how you would do the corner, perhaps, if there is no cars behind you or next to you, right? Look at where he is. This is not giving space. This is overtaking in a really bad manner. Carlos Sainz, once again, the aggressive driver of this weekend. He was out of control, but anyway. Max Verstappen locking in the last corner, or the second to last corner, right? And him complaining that he was locking up there. But he had such a big gap, he could afford to brake a little bit earlier there. Anyway, lockups and stuff in this racetrack are very normal because it's a street racetrack. This racetrack is used all year long by anybody, and you have trees and this kind of vegetation, or however you want to call it, that makes the track a little bit, the asphalt a little bit slippery, right? Anyway, Lando Norris, which I think it was a very good weekend for the McLaren team, overtaking Nico Hülkenberg, going for the points. It was okay. And then we see incident number X. I don't know how many there are already. Kevin Magnussen slightly carries in the wall, and the rear suspension, rear tire, the right tire, flying off. You can see the tire here flying off. Dangerous? Yes. Safety car? Yes. Red flag? No. I mean, they say there were aluminum parts and stuff, but if you have cars behind the safety car, you can clean it myself. You can clean it with the workers and everything that you have on the side of the track, right? The FIA thought this was a red flag. Of course, once again, I think this is something that is happening since Liberty took over. They are doing it the American way. The American way, which is every time there is something happening on track, you put everybody together and you have a mix-up once again, which is okay for the USA, but not okay for the rest of the world. You are destroying the race once again. And this red flag brought the third race start, which is the interesting one. Everybody's saying they have cold tires, yeah, but everybody has the cold tires, and not everybody was crashing. And once again, you have Verstappen, you have Hamilton, you have Alonso, you have Carlos Sainz, very aggressive once again, you have Pierre Gasly. And look at the amount of incidents in turn number 1. You have Sargent crashing into Nick De Vries, you have Sergio Perez going wide, you have Pierre Gasly going wide, and you have Carlos Sainz, this time, really KOing Fernando Alonso. And I say this time because, like I showed you before, in lap 1, he already went and punted, or however you want to call it. He went into Alonso. Race number 1, I will call it race number 3, a mini race of 2 laps. That was actually 1 lap only. And he completed the mission in turn number 1. He complained, and he was very angry with the steward, saying it was completely not his fault, or no, how can they put a penalty of 5 seconds, right? He didn't deserve it. So come on, like, look at this. Turn number 1, and then again, and he says it's not deserved. He created a crash. He is the reason why there was another red flag. We have another accident of Pierre Gasly and Ocon, where Gasly, after going out of track, he was coming into the track again and found Ocon outside of him. No space. Yeah, for both Alpines, actually, that was a very good race. You can see here already, Gasly looking up, you have Perez, and look at this. Alonso, look at where Alonso's car is pointing, and look at where Carlos Sainz's car is pointing. Alonso is already turning. Carlos Sainz, you can see he's going in this direction, and Alonso is going in this direction, right? Alonso is going for the curb. He's on the outside. That's where he should be. Carlos Sainz is also aiming for the curb, but he's on the inside, and you have a car outside, right? Look at this. Alonso is outside already. He's doing the corner. Carlos Sainz is already touching Fernando Alonso, and he still didn't give the final steering, right? He's still going for that curve. He went from here to here. This is a racing line. This is a racing line. You're not racing, this is a start. You cannot give this kind of lines if you're right there. Still, he thinks it's undeserved. What a joke. What a joke. Really angry, not wanting to talk. This guy lives in his own universe. But anyway, and then we see the end of the race behind the safety car. Why would you end the race behind the safety car when nobody can overtake anything? Like, they were on red flag waiting to restart the race to just go behind the safety car for one lap and finish the race. This is... This weekend was really bad. I don't know if it's because Michael Masi was there, even though he's not related to any decisions for the race. He was in the paddock. I don't know if such a mess of a race happened because Michael Masi's influence. I honestly don't know. I'm joking, obviously, but this is a shame. This is a joke of a race. The decisions they were taking, the red flags, everything. What can I say? Anyway, that was the race. You can see here the first 10 drivers, right? Because there was some controversy as well with the red flag, reinstating the race order as how it was before the accident. But I think the Haas team were complaining because with all the accidents and stuff, Nico Hülkenberg was in P4. Both Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas were somewhere here as well, P6 or something. Haas was complaining that the race order should be reinstated to us after the accident, because there was a point, which is the second safety car line, which is at the exit of the pit lane, where you can already establish the order of the race. The reason why the FIA reinstated the order as before the final red flag is because in theory they say there is no way of establishing an order of the race, right? However, I mean, the order should be the way you enter into the pit lane. It's kind of clear. There is a race order, but they put it back. Anyway, so once again, this is how the race finished, right? You have Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Alonso, which should have been last. It's not there. Lance Stroll, Perez, which made a comeback from last position, which was not last because in the pit lane there was somebody behind him at the beginning of the race. You have Norris scoring points for McLaren, Oscar Piastri scoring his first points for McLaren, Nico Hülkenberg scoring points for Haas, Zhou Guanyu scoring points, Tsunoda finally as well with the AlphaTauri, thanks to the penalty to Carlos Sainz, but anyway. You have Valtteri Bottas, you have Carlos Sainz, Gasly, Ocon, De Vries, Sargent, Magnussen, Russell, Albon, and Leclerc. Look at how many DNFs you have from here to here, right? Anyway, it was an interesting race. The World Championship, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez second. I think the title is kind of decided already. Alonso third, Hamilton, Carlos Sainz, Stroll, Russell, Norris, Hülkenberg, and Charles Leclerc with 6 points as well. Anyway, the prediction, how was it? Well, Max Verstappen, I guessed it for pole position and for race winner, right? Sergio Perez, well, thanks to the suspension failure, was not there. Hamilton was there, Alonso was there, Carlos Sainz was fourth until that penalty. Hamilton, Stroll, Gasly, Ocon, and Valtteri Bottas, which I didn't guess any of them. Not very future-telling career for me, huh? But anyway, the quiz. When did sorry, wrong quiz. Anyway, Albert Park was in 1996. So take it easy and see you in 4 weeks, which is in Baku. In 4 weeks, right? 4 weeks. We have nothing to do. Many teams will be bringing a lot of updates to the race. So let's see if Mercedes can confirm their improvements, where Ferrari is going to stay, where Aston Martin is going to stay. And let's see how the season develops for Red Bull, because they have that penalty for the development of the car. If other teams can catch up, or what's going to happen with them. So stay tuned, relax, and take it easy.